Welcome to the Life with a Difference podcast, a platform to amplify the voices of those living with a visible difference, and also to provide relevant information from industry leaders and experts. To start, would you mind introducing yourself and explaining a bit about your visible difference, please?
Of course, yes. So I'm Amy and I have eczema and also currently going through TSW, Topical Steroid Withdrawal. So yeah, it's kind of, visible on my face quite considerably and a few other places of my body. But yeah, that's my visible difference.
Honestly, we were just talking before we started recording that it feels so lonely sometimes, and it feels like you're completely on your own. You know, a lot of people have experience with eczema, but not a lot of people have experience on the extreme side of the spectrum. And seeing people like you and others, I don't know if you know Katie Mackey and people like that,
Yeah.
just doing excellent work and making you feel not quite so alone. And I really, really appreciate how authentic you are about it, and how it can be a bit annoying when people say this, but so brave about it. And it's kind of inspired me to start putting it out there and showing it when it's difficult. So thank you so much for all the work that
Oh,
you're
thank
doing. Do you
you.
mind talking a little bit about the physical symptoms of your condition?
Yeah. So obviously at the moment it's settled down quite a lot. But I think my main physical symptoms that I have at the moment is like the pain under my skin. It's like sort of like bone deep itch that I have that I really just wish I could get rid of, because I think that's half the problem, the itching. I want to scratch and I can't do anything about it. And then obviously I have like the redness in my face. And last year, I had a real swelling of my whole body really, but the main areas for me were my face. Um, I describe myself, and I know this sounds awful, but I kind of described what I used to look like as a burnt hamster. Because my face was just so puffy, like you think that, with the cheeks full. And I have been compared to like a burns victim in the past, like by a number of people when I was in hospital. The woman in the bed across from me thought I was a burns victim, until I explained to her what I'd been through. And then, yeah, she was very shocked, and shocked to see like a photo of what I actually did look like. Um, and then, yeah, just like the flaking, the peeling of my skin, the constant regeneration of the layers and layers of it. Kind of the list goes on, really. One of the main ones I don't really suffer with as much anymore is the inability to regulate my body temperature. Um, Sometimes I can feel much more cold than I should do. And then I'll get really hot really easily. But that's nothing compared to last year now. So I do feel very fortunate that I've come so far and, not suffering as much anymore. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's so important you showing that, again, going into the more extreme side of the spectrum, in that, again, a lot of people will dismiss it as a little bit of a rash on your arm, and then you're able to show people that, as you say, it looks like you're potentially a burn victim. And I hope you don't mind me saying, but it kind of it so much changed the shape of your face, even because you were,
Yeah.
your face was so swollen. And I think it's really important to get out there, because even talking to the dermatologist last week, there's still this idea of derma holiday amongst dermatologists, and this general just dismissive, just like it's not that big of a deal. And I think accounts like yours really show um, how much that isn't the case. What are you taking at the moment for it? I think you're like me in that I've literally taken every biologic and every JAK inhibitor. I'm currently on methotrexate and lebrikizumab, and we're
Yeah.
seeing how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm currently on methotrexate, like yourself. And I did at the beginning double up with Dupixent just to try to get rid of that itch until it started to kick in. But I think methotrexate is kicking in now. And I'm still on quite a low dose. But yeah, I've tried. So obviously, I was on just Dupixent on its own. Before that, I was on Rinvoq. Before that, cyclosporine. And actually, they're the only ones I've tried so far. Um, you know, Ideally, I'm sure we all say it, that we kind of want to heal naturally, but at the moment, just need some, like a little bit of help, just to kind of to to get me through, because obviously I've got like children and I'm a teacher, so it's not like I can just work from home. Not saying that working from home is like easy when you've got a skin condition anyway, but I need to be able to function.
Oh, it definitely is easier. Yeah, don't feel worried about saying that. It definitely is easier. I'm someone who fortunately works from home, and I used to be an electrician, so I was on site, and the difference is black to white. It's so freeing when you wake up in a flare, not having to face the world. So having to do that as a teacher must be really, really difficult. How is
Yeah.
that in with the kids? Are the kids good with it?
Yeah, the kids are really good with it. I think, they're really resilient, aren't they? And they're kind of, it's almost, some things where, you have like a negative view on something. It's kind of almost learnt. So kids, like, you hear the stories, don't you, that of children who don't see children of different ethnicities, or they just see them all as the same. So I think for the kids, like, it doesn't really bother them. When I was looking my worst, I wasn't even at work, so I can't really comment on what they would have been like. I think they probably would have asked questions. Again, as much as things don't bother them, they are also inquisitive. And sometimes I have had the question, like, why is your face so red? And I just explain, because to me, I'm not ashamed of it. I never really have been, but obviously having been on this journey over the past, 16, 17 months, I've realised that actually there are so many people with visible differences and things that, you look at and it's just different to someone else. And everyone, including children, need to be aware that everyone's got that little thing. Not maybe not everyone, but it's just the
There's a few
that
lucky
is
ones. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. This is
yeah.
normal in a sense,
Mhm.
because there's so much of it. So it's just about
Mm.
talking to them and making them aware, and teaching the next generation. I did just want to go back to something that you just said, before talking about the drugs that I was on about, sharing and kind of wanting to, kind of being brave about it. And I just think that that's the mission that I've been given now. Um, I've been set this task, really, that to, it kind of fell on, I fell into it, sort of thing. But I do just want to make people feel more confident in themselves and realize that just because they look slightly different, that doesn't change who we are inside. It is that cliche, isn't it? Of, it's what's on the inside that counts, but it is so true. And that's just the message that I'm just wanting to get out there, and teach my kids at home, my own children, and my kids at school as well.
That's amazing that you're doing that. It's amazing that you're doing all the social media stuff and you're a teacher. So you're just like constantly advocating. That's so good. And yeah, I'm kind of the same in that I'm trying to see it more as my job now. And it kind of almost it reduces the negativity of the condition, because when I'm really suffering, I almost see it as part of my job. Or when someone says a comment that's hurtful, I can be like, okay, time to get to work. Let's educate this person. And that's been really helpful. Have you found it helpful generally as well, kind of stepping forward as an advocate?
Yeah, I think that's so amazing you say it like that. Like, that is, it's such a good way of looking at it, using something that you found difficult, but to raise that awareness. So yeah, it is amazing, and I do feel the same. I think now, I see it as kind of like, yeah, not yeah, you say your job, don't you? But I love doing it. I'm sure you feel the same. That just
Yeah, definitely.
to get this information out there. Yeah, I love doing it, and I think, as much as I'm not one to really push my opinion on people, like, I've had friends that will say, "Oh, my doctor gave the steroid cream," and I'll just very gently give them the advice and say, "Well, just let you know what I've been through, but obviously it's your choice." But um, yeah, I think it's really important what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Even down to like silly things like I'm in and out of London constantly. I reckon I'm in and out of London 2 or 3 times a month going to appointments. It's £100 a go every time. And it used to just feel like, I'm just bleeding money, I'm bleeding time. But now it just kind of feels like expenses of the job, if maybe that's a weird way of looking at it, but that's how I'm reframing it in my mind anyway.
Yeah.
I'd say like the hardest bits about a visible difference and potentially a skin condition, especially, even though maybe it's just not the same for you, but the physical symptoms are, horrendous and very difficult to deal with. But I would say it's the mental side that is even more difficult. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the mental health side, and actually, you touched on it earlier, that the dermatologists don't get it. I think maybe they understand the physicalities of it a bit more, um, but the mental impact that it has, like, I don't think, unless they've been through it themselves, they absolutely will not understand. This has brought me to breaking point. This is not the first time I've said this, but that like there was a few moments, like a handful of moments, where I actually just thought, there's just no point. Like I can't do this anymore. And I was ready to completely end it all. And I think unless you've been through something as severe as this, the many different conditions that people can go through, but obviously, all of those. But obviously, I've just been through TSW. What's taken me to the point? You'll just won't get it. It's that knocking of your confidence, and obviously, I have come so far on my journey that like I barely wear makeup now. Saying no, well, I got lipstick on today. Like I will just go out in public, and I'm not bothered. I just think, but there's so many people who I know I speak to like daily say, I just don't want to leave my house. I don't want people to see me like this. That mental impact that it has. It's just, I don't know. It's immeasurable, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like because it's always oscillating, isn't it? And when you're at the bottom of those oscillations, if you had to, if you had to live permanently at the bottom of that, I'm the same. I don't know how anyone can be expected to carry on like that. Life is just simply not worth living. And then we have to, unfortunately, you don't live in that in the valley, but you've always got the risk of it because it's always going up and down, and that inconsistency is such a psychological burden. I don't know if you're the same as me in that every social every social event, sorry, I just feel a low key sense of anxiety for it because there's always that chance that you wake up on the day and for whatever reason you're in a massive flare, and it can be one of those events that you simply can't miss. And it's just awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think, yeah, it is that living. It's the unknown, isn't it? And you're right, it is up and down. I was talking to some girls at the weekend and who'd been through TSW or going through it, and we were
Yeah, that looked
saying,
lovely, that did.
yeah, we
Little
had a
meet up.
really
That looked
lovely
really
time.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I'll plan more of those, and the
Yeah,
girls that I
yeah.
was with will get out there. But we were just saying that if someone told me, right, you're going to be horrendous for like 3 years, I'd kind of say, right, at least I've got this. For 3 years, I know what's happening. I can get through that. In the grand scheme of my life, 3 years is not much. It feels like a long time. But then I just know that I was going to come out the other side. But it is just not knowing how long it's going to last. That's the scary thing for me. Am I going to be doing this for like the next 10 years of my life?
Hmm.
Yeah, that is scary. It's that constant
Yeah, I
anxiety of
couldn't agree more.
what's
I
going
tell
on.
I love talking to people with AD because it's just all the same stuff, and it feels really therapeutic to hear it because it's exactly the same. I think most people can grit their teeth and crack on for a while if they know there's an end in sight, but you just simply don't know. And I don't know if in your, for me personally, the doctors could tell me to do anything, and if it would fix it, I would do it. Like if it was, I need to run 50 miles a day, I would do it, and I'd be grateful that I could. But it's so frustrating not having that control. And then you do that massive, routine of treatments and doing all this and all this stuff, and then you wake up in a massive flare, and so you'd put in all that hard work, and it often feels like it's for nothing. It's
Yeah,
so difficult.
yeah. There's no rhyme or reason, is there? You just kind of,
No.
oh, great, that worked, perfect. Right, I'm going to replicate that whole day again, and I'm going to have great skin the next day. And then you wake up and it's like, yeah, you flared. You're like, well, which part? Which part did I do wrong?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, yeah. And
infuriating.
I went on a bit of a slippery slope where I was going to, rice, beans, broccoli, washing my clothes at 60 degrees. I was just having a completely suffocating routine because I was trying to just cut out every single variable because it's so hard to point to what it is. Do you have that as well, where you can all of a sudden build this routine that's just a bit much?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like I did did, and I'm continuing to do a bit of a series of like controlling the controllables, trying not to go too crazy, but also like actually thinking about what can I control and trying to control those. But you're right, you can get so stuck in those routines, and Obviously there are certain things that you will be doing that help, but you can get so bogged down with that, and that is exhausting in itself as well.
Yeah.
Your mind just constantly thinks about things, doesn't it? If you're not distracted by something, I don't know whether you're the same, but my brain is literally like, right, what am I going to eat for dinner later that's going to be like, anti-inflammatory, and that it's going to nourish my body, and then have
Yeah.
I washed my bedding, like, within the last 3 days.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Constantly.
exhausting.
Constantly. Mentally analyzing and then physically constantly experimenting and tweaking this and tweaking that and trying to find that trigger. I'd love to be more a kind of a person that's able to be a bit more of a passenger and just be like, this is what it is. I'm along for the ride. I'll do what I need to do. But my brain just doesn't seem to work like that. I want to find the solution and find the problem.
Yeah.
Are you able to like relax with the journey a bit, or are you the same as me?
I'm getting there a little bit where I'll have days where I'm like, okay, just chill out a little bit, it's fine, just have some fun, go do what you want to do. So like went open water swimming. I was thinking, oh my God, this is the worst decision of my life. But actually had a really good time. My skin's been great since. Um, so I'm kind of like slowly being able to relax a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm the same. I think I do feel like I need to be in control all the time. Um, and yeah, it's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah, I find the hope of it helps me as well. Like I'll kind of kid myself, be like, I found it. I found it. This is it. We're doing it. I'm sorted it. And just the hope of that kind of gets me. Like my latest one at the moment is pollen. Like when
Yes,
the
I
pollen is
saw.
high, yeah, my skin just goes nuts. I'm on
Mm,
some heavy stuff, methotrexate and lebrikizumab, and doing everything right. But I'm having these crazy, intense flares that seem to go up in line with pollen. So yeah, at the moment I'm all like buzzing
yeah,
that I found the problem, but we'll see. I've been here plenty of times before.
yeah, yeah,
I've had, I think, like a lot of people with chronic AD, I have an endless um, pool of examples of times where I've been treated pretty poorly and people have been quite nasty and quite cruel. And again, I think going back to like um, people not knowing how hard it is to deal with on the more extreme end of the scale, people don't realize just how much you have to deal with that stuff when it's chronic. Um, would you be comfortable sharing an experience where you feel like you've been treated particularly poorly?
Do you know, I feel very fortunate that actually I don't really have any experiences where it's been horrendous. Um, the most I can think of really is at school. Like other children wouldn't necessarily want to be like stood too close to me. Um, but that's very rare. And it was just the questions and kind of like looking at it in disgust, but like as a child. Um, I do feel very, like I say, I'm very fortunate that I feel like I've not really got many stories. I think the people that I've had as friends and my family, and any colleagues just have always been really supportive. Um, I've not, yeah, I don't really have a story like that actually, which,
That's good. That's positive. Is it kind of
yeah,
more small stuff, kind of little comments, little things? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and it's more just like the questions, or yeah, like yeah, I've never really had anybody, I suppose I don't know. I'm just thinking back to because it was quite severe as a child and a teenager. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel very lucky that
Yeah,
I've
how
not
did
had
you
a
do
bit of
that?
a.
That is
I know.
amazing for you to get through the teenage years and not have that. Do you think you present as quite confident, perhaps? Is that maybe part of it?
I mean, possibly. I was quite a like a, I was quite a not. I wouldn't say confident as in if for my self confidence. I've always felt like anxious about things and never really truly believed that I'm beautiful, things like that. But I've always been quite outgoing. Yeah, so like outgoing and confident, I suppose maybe are different things, aren't they? So like outgoing, I'm happy to chat to people and I play sport, so I think that helps.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I guess maybe I did present like that. Or on the other hand, it could be because I know that I can't really remember things from like last year, moments from last year, and maybe my body like trauma response has actually just blocked all of that out. So maybe when I'm thinking back to the times that maybe children have like not wanted to stand by me. Maybe it was worse than it was, but I've just kind of forgotten it. But I don't think it was. I think I'm just, yeah, I do. I think I'm very fortunate that that's
That's good.
never really been an experience. Yeah.
No, that's really good. That's positive to hear. Yeah. One that I 99% of the ones I get, are nothing, particularly catastrophic or anything. I'll wake up, my skin's flared, I feel like in extreme pain, extreme itch, and then just mortified in the way that I look. And I have to go outside and I'm shuffling around, feeling all embarrassed. And, someone will say, oh my God, you're so burnt. I've never seen someone so red. And it comes from that place of, well, they're not being malicious, but obviously to you, it's kind of the worst thing they could possibly say. And in
Yes.
that situation, I really struggle to remain calm and confident and just take a breath and go, no, that's my skin condition. I know you didn't know that, but don't worry. Da, 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 da. I normally would just laugh it off and just scurry away. So how
Yeah.
do you deal with those situations?
Yeah, I guess I've had quite a lot of that, but I don't know. I think yeah, I just kind of it's acceptance that yeah, this is what I look like. But you're right, it is. It does kind of like take you aback, and you think, why can't you just not say anything? Like obviously, and again, I was talking to the girls this weekend about it, going, like why can't people just realize that we've looked in a mirror, like we've looked
Yeah,
at ourselves this
I
morning,
am
like we
aware.
know,
Thank
like
you.
I know how
Yeah.
red and like round I am.
Mm,
I don't need you to tell me, and I think that, yeah, that's one of those things again where it's about raising this awareness of the visible differences where you just kind of, unless that person's talking to you about it, like don't bring it up. Talk about something else to do with the personality, like, or I don't know. It's a
yeah,
difficult one,
I
isn't it?
really agree.
Because
I think a real good like blanket rule, because it's a complex thing, but if you could come up with a blanket rule, it's wait for the invitation to talk about it. So if they're not talking about it, don't talk about it. Some
yeah,
people say, build rapport with them and then eventually, and if you've been mates with them for, a little while, then fair enough. But I do think the easiest thing and the safest thing for everyone is just to wait for the invitation. If they bring it
yeah,
up, then they've
yeah,
opened the door to you. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Because even the oh, it looks, like some of your friends still do this, and I again, I'm not bothered. So if any of my friends are watching, it's fine. But it's even that, like, oh, it looks really sore today. I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, I know. It is.
Yeah, but I think what
Thanks.
that sounds
Don't
like,
pity me, but
it
yeah.
looks, yeah, it looks really sore today. Like that. I think that's no offense to your friends or anything, but that's a little bit of a lack of empathy and really being in that person's shoes. If someone said that
Uh,
to you, what, yeah, it's kind of similar to you look really tired. It's just like, oh, well, thank
yeah,
you very
yeah.
much.
No, but yeah, I know,
Yeah,
and
but they
again,
don't
it's
mean
kind
it,
of,
which just makes it more complicated.
it comes from a good place, doesn't it? Of them
Mm,
wanting to, like, acknowledge it for you or something. I don't know, and that's why it like doesn't offend me, or I don't get wound up by people saying stuff really, because I just think unless if they were going to say something nasty, they'd probably say something worse than that, and so they're not being into.
mhm.
So yeah, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, but it's something that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that when people don't mean it maliciously, you've got to try and give them a bit of grace. Is that I was speaking to a lady that we know who's in a wheelchair, and I was saying to her, if I'm having a long conversation with you, is it better for me to crouch down and look you in the eye, or is it, or should I stand up and talk to you? Then I kind of feel bad for sort of being stood over the top of you. There'd been times before where I'd kind of just crouched down because I felt like I was being respectful by looking them in the eye. And she told me, no, 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 complete opposite. If you were taller than me and I was short, you wouldn't bend down to talk to me because that just feels
Yeah,
condescending. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, that makes complete sense. And so it's just all about educating rather than shaming, I guess, is the thing, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, definitely. I think there just needs to be loads more of that educating. Yeah,
Mm.
but obviously easier said than done.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. One of the big things in terms of your education and your advocacy is TSW. Do you mind explaining what TSW is to someone that might not know?
Yes, of course. So, it's when you've been using steroid creams either topically or orally. Um, some people think it's over a longer period of time, but there are certain people in the community who have not been using them for very long and not very high potency either, can develop TSW. Worth saying that not everybody who uses steroids topically or orally will develop TSW. Um, but yeah, it's when you've been using them for a period of time, and then when you stop using them, your body kind of goes into a bit of a rebound state. So withdrawal is I don't know, that term kind of makes you think it's kind of like a psychological, like if you're withdrawing from a drug, there's that like sort of brain connection, isn't there, where it's like that craving. So I think it's different to that, but it's more of like a physiological impact that it has on your body. So the steroid creams are suppressing the inflammation, and then in my case, I've been using them for a very long time, over 30 years, ranging in potency, higher potencies towards the end. And then I'd become kind of addicted to it. So my body was craving, I have to use that word, like craving. It needed the steroid creams. I needed it to look, better, take away that pain. So I just applied it. As soon as I made the decision to stop using them, my body went into kind of overdrive. Like I had kind of had all those physical symptoms, overactive, I think overactive blood vessels, I think, and you have like an inflammatory surge. So that's when you get like, I had the swelling around my face, my glands all swelled up. Some people like their ankles and the feet and the fingers, redness, burning, the oozing, things like that. The symptoms, like physical symptoms, the peeling of the skin. That I think probably worth saying that I'm not a medical professional. This is my own research and my own experience, basically. But yeah,
But
it's
it's
kind of
like
like,
30 odd years of experience, and so it's very valuable. People sometimes
yeah,
write that off compared to clinical expertise. But, a lot of these clinicians have had a couple of hours of lectures, if we're being honest, if we're not talking about the proper specialists. And so I
mhm.
think 30 years of experience is very, very valuable information.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I think, that's again one of the missions that I'm kind of on, is to bring like the patients and, professionals together, to work together, like, just to so that we can understand each other and like work together to find a solution. But yeah, so yeah, that sort of like pattern of symptoms, lots of people, describe the same things. Yeah, so that's TSW, I guess.
When you were taking the steroids, I assume was it Elicon? I always took Elicon
Elicon was one of
Mometazone.
them. Yeah, mometazone was one of the latest ones as well.
Yeah.
Trying to
Was
think
your
like what
skin
else.
good when you were taking it?
But yeah, it always kind of worked. I guess I would actually probably say no, because through my teens, yes, the same sorts of creams were working. But then as I kind of came through adolescence and in becoming an adult, I would then go back to my dermatologist or my doctor and say, "Oh, that I'm flaring again. It's really bad. My creams aren't working." And then they would give me the higher potency ones. So I guess in a way, no, it wasn't, because then they gave me higher, like the stronger creams, and that's just like kind of progressed until actually not that long ago, and then I was on like the highest of the potencies, mometazone and the likes of that. Um, Umavate, I'm not sure I can't think where that one is on the potency, but I think that's quite high. Um, so yeah, and then they stopped working January
Okay.
2024. That was when like
Yeah.
it wasn't just that they weren't working, they were causing me like the burning sensation when I was putting them on. And then yeah, I thought they stopped working at that point. So that's why I went cold turkey, because I know kind of that some of the advice, even though some people say they've done that and it's still sent them into withdrawal, um, I chose to go cold turkey and just stop them, because I was like, why would I continue to keep putting them on just and gradually reduce them if they are literally hurting me? So that
Hmm.
that was when I
Hmm.
made that decision to just completely stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just speaking to my own experience of it. I was very much a kid, constantly slathered in topical steroids. That was what the advice was. And this was back in the day before you had all these new biologics and JAK inhibitors and stuff. And so that's what you did. And I was very fortunate in that I don't believe that I have experienced TSW. What I did experience is some skin atrophy. And also I just kind of got to the point where I just don't think it was doing anything at all. So
Mhm.
I stopped using it. What's been your um, experience with healthcare and TSW? Because I know that can be a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, so nobody I have spoken to at my own appointments from any sort of medical professional has ever acknowledged TSW. Um, Obviously, being on this morning with Dr. George Moncrief, obviously he acknowledges it. So I was talking to him, but obviously I don't think he practices properly anymore. Um, my experience is actually quite negative. It's not horrendous. I've never been like dismissed and made to feel rubbish in my dermatologist appointments, but probably because I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, I kind of just touched on it and then I thought, oh, there's not much point. So, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, the video that went viral was probably my worst experience. Um, when I did like a bit of a day diary after the dermatologist appointment because and 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 posted that because I just felt so infuriated that I'd been in hospital the week before. I'd been sent to this dermatologist appointment 40 minutes away for them to kind of, it was a tick box exercise because I'd been in hospital. They needed to see me to kind of check on me. I went into the appointment and she was just basically checking on me to see what was going on. I was waiting for Dupixent at this time, but as I said to her, yeah, I don't want to use these steroid creams because I believe this is where it's got me to. This has got me to where I am. I then said to her, what are your views on topical steroid withdrawal? And she said, yes, there is, like it is gaining more traction, like people are becoming more aware of it, or not becoming more aware of it, sorry. She said, like, there's more talk of it. But then the next thing she said to me was like, right, I want to prescribe you this steroid cream. And that just to me, again, it wasn't like she wasn't being like awful. She wasn't dismissing me in it like a blatant way. But it was that thought of like, well, if you know that this could potentially be a thing, why on earth are you prescribing steroids to me? And I think that was the worst one for me. And then that's why I was just so infuriated after because I thought I've driven all this way for nothing. And for her to just basically tell me to use steroid creams again, and it was just, yeah, that was awful. Um, and then, yeah, my current dermatologist is great, but we don't really have the discussions about it because, again, it's just like a bit of a, well, it's talked about, but there's not enough research yet, sort of thing. Um,
Yeah, I think the National Eczema Society are really pushing towards getting some trial data on it, which will hopefully change things a little bit because that's what they kind of come back to all the time is that there's no data about it. But I
yeah,
think that the lived experience of people like you is more than enough reason to definitely look into it.
exactly. And I think, maybe we're calling it the wrong thing, and um, maybe we're not quite right as patients on the science behind it, or maybe not science is the right word, but then what is it? That's my question. Like, what is going on with us? Why do we all have these same pattern of symptoms? Like, that needs to be investigated. Maybe given a new name, or like, it could be something linked to eczema. And yeah, but obviously, yeah, I mean, there is already research, isn't there, that is, the topical steroid withdrawal is there is already starting to be that research. But you're right, the National Eczema Society. I've been doing a little bit of work with them and had some conversations, which has been great. And I like that they've really kind of, you know, like run with, into it with open arms now because I know in previous times, on their website, it's still talking about steroid creams, but now the fact that they've got this research going on, it's just incredible. And I think, the one of the biggest eczema charities in the UK. Yeah, I don't think they're global, are they? The National Eczema Society is just UK based, isn't it? But yeah, it's great that we've got this research coming.
Uh,
Hopefully, hopefully it's not a slow trajectory. Hopefully, we just
there's
get
people just
skyrockets.
suffering so badly that I hope it isn't too slow for sure. I remember I went on a few TSW forums and to be completely honest with you, I had to leave because it was so hard to see and hear. And there's just people, understandably, ranting and raving and pouring their hearts out, bless them, because it just people just do not understand how utterly awful it is. It's like we were saying earlier. I don't know how anyone could live for a long period of time like that. It takes every ounce of joy out of life. So just
Mm.
to kind of sort of slightly change the subject, is your advice in terms of topical steroids to completely avoid them? So, say you're a carer or a parent, and your kid goes into the dermatologist, and step one is moisturizers, then they go on to the topical steroids. Is your advice to try them, and if it starts to get to the point where it's becoming, they're becoming reliant or something like that, then to stop, or would you just say avoid completely?
I think avoid completely is my if they're not already using them, I know that there are alternatives out there. My my eldest daughter, I think, has got a similar sort of skin type to me, and when she was a toddler, developed the patches, and I took her obviously because it was before all of my awareness of TSW. I did use steroid creams on her, um, but and that kind of cleared up. Unfortunately for me, like for us, me and her, it hasn't developed into anything, and now we manage it in different ways. But my youngest daughter, who's she's 2, she's developed the same type of patches as my eldest daughter did, but I now manage it in a different way, and I use the balm and skin salvation on her. I just did a reel about it recently because that's cleared it up. So I believe, well, I know there are, like, I've experienced it. It's not me just sitting here going, I think you can do it different ways. I've used it on my 2-year-old daughter, used alternative treatments, and it's helped. So I think my advice before, well, I'm not even going to say as a last resort, use steroid creams because I don't think there's a need for them. Uh, because, I've like lived my own experience where with my own children that we sorted it out a different way. So yeah, my advice would be don't do it. Try to explore different avenues, because there are so many now. We've got the biologics. Some of Dupixent's approved for children as well, isn't it? And I know these are scary drugs. And again, maybe it's just that we want to go down a more natural route, but there are again other natural approaches that you can take rather than even going down drugs. That drug route.
Yeah.
I probably just want to say though as well that if people are on using steroid creams or taking oral steroids, watching this, I never want to kind of like provoke that fear, and I don't want to be like, oh, absolutely, just stop them now. Just stop. It's never going to help. Um, just speak to like a dermatologist and come up with a plan for that's that if I could give the best advice without like upsetting anyone, I'd say speak to your dermatologist to gradually wean off them, come off them the best you can, and then explore other routes. So
Mm.
yeah, that's my advice really. What I would do myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I wonder if, because I know you have to, so for example, the biologics, you have to take an immunosuppressant before you can take a biologic, which I was speaking to the dermatologist about this, and she was saying it's because it's a lot more studied drug, they have a lot more trial data, blah blah blah. But I don't like the fact that methotrexate is so much more potent, supposedly,
Mm.
and how it's such less side effects in the biologics. So I don't like that you have to go on to methotrexate before then going on to biologics. But anyway, I think you have to. I believe they might make you try the topicals before they'll even give you the immunosuppressants. It's kind of like a ladder thing. I don't know.
Right.
Do you know
Okay.
if that's the case or not?
I don't know whether it's the case of. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
this
either.
I'm not sure, but I think what I will say is I do know of at least one person who went. I was talking to her, and she wanted Dupixent, and she basically just went into the dermatologist, and was like, "I'm not leaving here, and I'm not going on anything else. I'm not leaving here until I'm on Dupixent." And she was in a really bad way, and I think they did. Fortunately, she was seeing someone who kind of had the empathy and they gave it to her. So I don't think it's out of the question. I think it's possibly like um a funding well, what's the word, like a financial
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah, totally.
side of it, that maybe they are just jumping through the hoops of they've got to try the cheaper options first. But my advice now, and I would be the same. And I am in my dermatologist appointments. I am just like, no, like,
Yeah,
no, just
yeah,
please listen to me, and just this is what I want to do. Just yeah, have that self, advocacy and the confidence to just go, I know there's this that I can try. Um, Give it to me, sort of thing.
100%.
I'm
That's
probably
so
going to get loads
important.
of
Yeah.
people in trouble now, and
No,
I
no,
don't know,
no,
but
that's
I just
so good you saying that. Yeah, you have to be the squeakiest wheel, and you'll be amazed how often you get your way if you stamp your
mm,
feet, if you really
yeah,
stamp your feet. And I'm not saying flip tables and kick doors down or anything, but
yeah,
like if you are calm, confident, and you state what you need and what you want, and you go in there prepped and ready to go, they will often give you what you want. And there's particularly, I think this applies to the GP level, because unfortunately you do have to get referred, and I don't even know if I agree with the referral system in general. It just feels like another obstacle to get through. But GPs have very little training on skin conditions, and they see you as not particularly high risk because it's just a skin condition. It's not immediately life-threatening. So you need to go in there and make sure they don't ignore you. And if you feel suicidal, you tell them you feel suicidal, and you do what you need to do. And yeah, like
hmm
Amy says, just advocate very firmly, and yeah, you often do get your way. One of the things that I've had to struggle with a little bit is that, I don't know how you feel about this, but when I'm really, really deeply suffering, the one thing that will reset me and sort me out is a course of prednisolone. I don't want to take prednisolone. I understand that there's potential long-term effects of that, but when you're at the absolute bottom and there's um, no light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes you need that reset.
hmm
And so when a clinician tries to block that from me, I find that very, very difficult, because I understand that pred has potential side effects, and down the line you can have osteoporosis and stuff like that. But if a doctor came to me and said, "Look, I've got this pill for you, and you're going to lose the last 20 years of your life, but up until then you'll be healthy," I'd shake their hand immediately. And so when they're blocking, that's really difficult. So just a
mm,
roundabout way of saying, please advocate for yourself and don't let them
yeah,
push you around, because trust me, they will if they can a lot of the time.
yeah. And I think you're right though. It's the right attitude, isn't it? Going in, like, try not to go in with kind of like a real negative approach already, like, oh, this dermatologist is going to be terrible. Like, try to
Mm.
go in with the approach of like they are going to work with you if you do it in the right way. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah.
have all the
You know when to be
information.
firm. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't be firm until you need to be. Yeah, be all nice, and then if you have to,
yeah.
then go for it. Yeah, for sure. One thing that I'm kind of struggle with, and I feel like um your advocacy leans a lot towards kind of natural and holistic remedies and things like that. I'm kind of, so I think my journey, there was a point where I went off everything, and I really didn't want to take anything at all. And I thought, I'm going to manage this on my own. I'm going to do this, and it was just kind of just skirting along the line of being okay. And I was so close to picking up the phone all the time, but I would just about pull it back. And then I had a flare that was it was just the worst thing I'd ever experienced in my life. It went on for months. I was covered head to toe in rashes. My scalp was saturated with weeping. Like, it was just horrendous and just wouldn't go. Since then, I've very much been on the turning up to dermatologist and saying to them, "I want you to throw the kitchen sink at me, and if I get and if I get a period of reprieve of 6 months, then we'll work backwards." I'm very much, and clinicians don't want to do that because they want to give you as little as possible, understandably, for safety reasons. But that's kind of where I am at the moment in my journey. Um, Obviously everyone wants to be able to be healed naturally, and I'd say you're kind of like in a different space where you're trying to, understandably, a lot more avoid these heavy medications. Would you say that's kind of where you are, and you're trying to focus on the less serious nasty stuff and injections and all that stuff?
Um, do you know what? I think I do give my followers a bit of whiplash sometimes, because one day I'll be like, right, that's it. I'm going to quit all of it and I'm going to go natural. And then like the next day I'll have a really bad flare and I'm like, I'm sorry guys. I've like gone, and then I feel really like I got the guilt. I've got the guilt of like going back to big pharma, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, give me whatever. Um,
Mm.
but I think, yeah, I think at the moment, and for the most part, I am thinking, like, if medication can help me a little bit, because I'm the same as you. it doesn't matter whether I don't want to be old and haggard. I'm not going to be living a life at 90 years old. So, I'll quite happily have a really good period of my life now. Um, I know that's like, it is weird to say, isn't it? But I just think I don't know, yeah, I just want to kind of try to focus on healing my body enough so it is okay without any medication. But I need that little bit of help at the moment where it's going to give me the boost, because otherwise I can't function. And, that just has a massive impact both physically and mentally for me. Um, so I am trying, I'm constantly trying all like sort of holistic approaches, hypnotherapy, I try and do whenever I can. Exercise, I think that's a massive thing for me, like having that, not just like obviously physically moving your body is fantastic, but obviously for your mental health as well, that's great. Um, when I'm going through a flare, it's all that clean eating, just trying to strip those things back. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, it's weighing it up. I'm like, no, I
Yeah,
need the
yeah.
drugs at the moment.
Yeah, and I don't think there should be any guilt with that. There's a few influencers out there, and obviously you're not saying you're like this at all. There's a few influencers out there that it's almost like they make you feel guilty for taking medication, and I just think that is just such a bad way to look at things. No one judges a cancer patient for having chemo or a diabetic for having insulin, but there's sometimes a little bit in the skinfluencer world where if you can't heal yourself naturally, you almost feel a bit judged a little bit. And I'm the
Yeah,
same in that
like you're
I felt
cheating.
like yeah, definitely. I felt like a bit of a failure when I had to start injecting myself with stuff. And that can be
Mm,
a little bit hard to deal with.
yeah, and do you know what? I think I probably have said things as well, because I don't. None of us want to be on these medications, do we? So I think it should be again like that blanket like realization that no one wants to be on medication, no one wants to be on the drugs, but sometimes we just have to, and that's an
Mm,
individual choice, and yeah,
mm,
nobody should be made to feel guilty whatever decision they make, because they're
yeah,
doing what's right for them.
mhm,
And I think I get that now because, well, I literally didn't want to be here several times last year. So whatever that person needs to do to stop themselves from, ending it all, then
yeah,
yeah, I don't think there should be
yeah,
any guilt.
yeah, 100%. Especially with some of the stuff that's coming out now. It's really all very promising.
Mm.
I tell you what, I'm taking lebrikizumab at the moment, and it's an auto injector one. And oh my word, it's so painful. It's
Yeah.
unreal. I've taken so many of these now, like loads of auto injectors. Like my methotrexate's an auto injector. There's something about lebrikizumab. It's like literally being stabbed. It's
Oh
horrendous. But
no.
other than that, they're
How long do
yeah.
you have to endure it for? Is it like a
Until I don't
30
know.
seconds,
I
is
don't
it?
know.
Or
Oh, sorry. Right,
when
yeah. The
you're
injection's probably
injecting it,
about
yeah.
yeah, probably about yeah. It's probably about 20 seconds. I don't know if it's like the is it viscosity? Like the thickness of the liquid.
Right,
It's
okay.
like it's being pushed through. I don't know. It really flipping hurts. I tell you, it's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah.
So just I'm not allowed to like recommend anything, but just there's also the option of like a pre-filled syringe, and then you can kind of administer it nice and
Right.
gently yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, take from that what you will. If anyone's listening and
Yeah.
is being asked to go on it. Do you feel any sort of sense of like responsibility because you're a fairly big influencer now. I think you're over 50,000 followers on Insta. Do you just kind of live your life and you're just kind of just authentically the way you're living your life, or are you quite considered in what you say to people, or how do you balance that?
Oh, it's horrendous, and I genuinely still don't even think I can't consider myself as I can't consider. Ugh, I can't let me speak. I can't get it out. This is how like flustered I get when I think about that. I've got that many followers. Yeah, I don't consider myself to be an influencer just because I don't know. I am just sharing like my journey. The thought of influencing people absolutely terrifies me, because I think, yeah, there is that responsibility. If I've said, "Oh, I really like this," and then someone tries it and it makes them really poorly, that's
Mm,
horrendous to think that that could potentially be an outcome. Um, but at the same time, I've had such positive feedback sometimes from things I have shared, um, and I think that is amazing, and that's why I keep doing it. Because of the positive responses I get. But yeah, I do feel a real sense of responsibility massively because yeah, people, that people are desperate as well. I think it's not just that I'm sharing, like, oh, this is how I stock my fridge. People's health. Like, I don't want to be saying the wrong things, and make someone really poorly. Like I say, yeah, that's a real like worry for me. And yeah, I just have this imposter syndrome. But then I just have to remind myself that as long as all I'm doing is sharing my journey and what I'm doing and what's helping me and what's not helping me, then again, it's like when I was on this morning, I can't really go wrong because as long as people understand that I'm not saying to you, oh my gosh, this is the cure, because I don't think there is one out there, but I'd never say that. All I'm saying is, oh, I'm just trying this next. This is great. I love this. Maybe if your skin's a similar description to mine or you feel the same, give it a try. Um, I guess, I don't know, that's again why I've kept doing it because I realised that I can't really go wrong if it's my journey and I'm just sharing
Yeah.
my experience. Um,
Yeah. I went down like a chat GPT rabbit hole with all this about how, like, what you should and shouldn't say. And because there's something called, I don't know, you might know, it's the APBI, which is kind of the body that um, regulates all this kind of stuff. It makes sure that farmers not advertising direct to customers, etc. And it just seems to be like you said, if you're just talking about your own lived experience, that's that's all you're doing. You're not telling anyone. You're not saying everyone you need to go out today and go and buy this, this, and this. It's just just your experience. And I think that
yeah.
the value and benefit of it is just massive. I when I was at school, if I could have had that, that would have been so helpful. Because at school, I felt completely and entirely alone.
Mm,
Um, and so, yeah, it's great what you're doing.
yeah, thank you. I mean, there's so many, people that are doing such a good job, and it is good. And you're right that if like teenage us, saw all of this, it would potentially build that confidence in,
Mm,
that was much earlier. Um, but yeah, there is a responsibility, but it's good. For the most part, the social media side is amazing because, there isn't that research out there yet. Even if someone hadn't labeled it TSW yet, at least, there's someone else out there going through this, the same thing. And you can kind of, because there's no advice, not no advice,
mm,
no, that's wrong, isn't it? But because there's minimal advice, at least you can just share experiences with other people and swap
yeah,
stories and try different things that way. Um, Obviously, it's not the safest to just be trying all these things that might not work, but what else? What other option have we got, sort of thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're living at that worst scenario, you literally don't have a choice. You don't. To me, I guess speaking for myself, I feel like I didn't have a choice at all. Like it was what it was. As I said, if it told me it was going to take 20 years of my life, yep, that's fine. Put it in me. Don't worry about it. You know. So yeah, I can totally understand it. What would
Mm.
be your if you did have, say, a few things that you do feel has generally helped you, what would you put those down to? Just to give a couple of mine, I just got aircon installed in my bedroom, and I know it costs so much money. It's so annoying that it costs so much money, but it's such a game changer for my skin. Like, we're in the middle of summer, rather than scratching myself to death every night, I I just don't do that, and I sleep really well. And so, if you can swing it, and I know it's a lot of money, I would say to anyone listening, please get it installed, because especially for the for I know we have rubbish summers, but that month is pretty horrendous when your skin is suffering. So that would
Yeah,
be my thing.
I'm so jealous. Whereabouts are you, Andy? I'm sorry, I don't even realise like where you are in the country.
I'm kind of in like I'm like in the middle of the Midlands. So like
Oh, okay.
I'm sort of near Cambridge. I'm like half an hour from Cambridge. I'm in like a
Right.
tiny village. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, not so far then. I'm in Birmingham.
Y-
So yeah,
Oh, you
it's
Birmingham. Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's been pretty hot though, hasn't it? But yeah, aircon sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. You don't know
um,
Shelley and Crystal, do you, from Changing Faces? They're from Birmingham.
Crystal, I've met.
Yeah.
I don't think I've met or heard of Shelley, no, but
Yeah, she's the
I've
like
maybe
head of
seen them
the
on the.
campaigners.
Oh, okay, right,
Mm.
okay. Oh, possibly like cross paths, maybe. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
But yeah, I've met Crystal. Um,
Okay. Yeah, she's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we did a shoot together with Anthony Alexa, which was so good. Like just with
Yeah.
the people with visible differences, it was just yeah, it was amazing.
Is it?
Um, but yeah, so top tips. Oh, aircon is so good. I'm so jealous. I've not got anything as good as that. um, I was going to say my fan is like, I have it on every night, even in the winter. Through the winter, I'd have my fan on. But no, I think, one thing I actually do believe played a massive part in my like how quick I kind of started to recover was connecting with people in the community. Um, I know that's an answer for like loads of people because just being able to share your stories and feel that sort of connection with people who are kind of going through a similar thing was massive for me. Um, so that, and just being able to have a rant with someone who gets it. Um,
Definitely.
where they kind of go, yeah, absolutely, I've got the same thing,
Yeah.
and you're just sitting there
Mm.
going, we get each other. Um, and then like things like the cozy care. Have you seen all of the rollers and the scratch star? The roller's my favorite. So again, that's like similar to ice packs, just to kind of cool yourself down. Um, and then I guess it's been like trial and error with some moisturizers, things like that. Dead sea salt baths is the other thing that, yeah, early on. I know that I'm on a bit of a kind of a bit of a decision at the moment to kind of reduce like how long I would spend in the shower and the bath, but not totally taking it away for me at the moment is kind of my procedure. But yeah, and I don't know. I just think trial and error with things and not being too hard on yourself and realizing that there's going to be peaks and troughs, um, and having that acceptance. It's hard, but just having that acceptance that you're doing your best you can. Um, yeah, it's tough, but just got to put one foot in front of the other and yeah, just keep going, I guess.
Is that similar to what you would say to younger Amy if you were to go back to like 8, 9, 10-year-old teenage Amy?
I think so, yeah. I think just knowing that it will get better. Um, and that I think also the advice I would give is that, is that going back to what we said earlier about that it's not what's on the exterior, it's the interior that matters a lot, and just being who I am, trying to be kind and, care about others. That's that's what's important really. But yeah, just knowing that it it, it does get better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just to quickly shoehorn this in, and this is not just embarrassingly pat myself on the back for this, but I was part of them. I was a patient expert for the NICE appraisal of nemolizumab. I don't know if you saw that. Uh,
Nice.
that's just come out, and so for carers and patients and stuff. Obviously, most people were aware of the list of the biologics and JAK inhibitors. We now have another one. So we now have nemolizumab, and the big thing with this one is that it's supposed to specifically target the itch. That is kind of its main thing. It targets a whole new interleukin, and also the injection frequency is once every 8 weeks, and
Wow.
also it's supposed to come with a lot less side effects. That is not me trying to sell it. I haven't taken it. I don't know anything about it other than on paper, but just to make people aware that there's another one
Yeah.
available to look at.
I think that's so good because even not looking at specific drugs, I think knowing that there's more coming out and there will be more continuing to come out is it gives people hope, doesn't it? Gives people hope that there are alternative methods to steroid creams and there's hope that there are many options now that could potentially help someone. So that's really good to know.
Yeah, the pipeline is really strong now, which is good because for a long time it was quite limited into what you could.
Yeah,
The road wasn't very long. The end of the road was close, but now
yeah,
there's
yeah,
so much to try,
yeah,
which just it's just
yeah.
that hope, isn't it? That hope makes all the difference in the world. That there's a chance that things can get better. So you've started. You're going to do the Great North Run for National Eczema Society. How's training going? Firstly.
Yeah, it's going all right. I've not actually got up to much distance at the moment, so my only plans for this evening are potentially to go and try and do a 10K. which I haven't done for ages. So wish me luck. But yeah, not too bad. I'm really enjoying running. Like, I've said before, it's kind of I'm able to focus on that and really just get into it. So training's going well so far. It'll be my second one, so I know I can get round. And I think training will be even better this time. And I'm hoping to beat my time for it. So yeah, watch this space.
Awesome, awesome. I'll put the link in the show notes and stuff
Oh,
like that for
thank
people
you.
to donate. So generally, where can people find you?
Instagram. I am on TikTok, but I'm terrible. Like, just Instagram is my thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's because you're
yeah,
over
Journey.
30, same as me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just on Instagram at the moment, Journey of Amy with underscores in. They can find me on there, and yeah, happy for people to like reach out, get back to them
Mhm,
as soon as possible. Um,
mhm,
but yeah, it's and hoping to work with the National Eczema Society soon a bit more as well.
mhm.
So maybe some events, things like that. That'd be great if we could do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Amy. Honestly, your advocacy is brilliant. The way, like I said at the start, the way you're so authentic with it, and you put that message out there about how difficult it can be, I think is really, really important for people to see. And I really love the way that you try all these different treatment routes. So for anyone, for a parent or a carer or a patient, they can almost use you as a bit of a guinea pig, I suppose, and they can
Yeah,
see how you got on with it. And it takes away some of the way it can be quite daunting. If the doctor comes along and says, right, you need to start taking Dupixent, if you sort of know somebody that's kind of gone through the process already, that makes a huge difference and just can make it feel that bit less daunting. So yeah,
yeah.
just thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for
Oh,
all your
thank
work.
you. Yeah, not a problem. And yeah, hope to continue that. Yeah, thank you so much.